Okay, I am back and ready to make the last video of this class. This is our last lecture today. So congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. At this point, all we have left is exam 3, which you take Tuesday, August 2nd. On Wednesday, August 3rd, you need to make your video of your presentation and you need to upload it to the discussion board by midnight that night. If everybody has their videos posted by Wednesday, that's going to allow time for people to get on Thursday and watch at least one other presentation and make a comment on their presentation. So, if people waited and posted their videos on Thursday, that doesn't really allow people time to get on and respond to somebody. So that's why the deadline for the videos is on Wednesday. And then that's it. Thursday is the last day of class. Everything closes at that time. I will have grades posted very quickly because I will have exam 3 graded by Wednesday. And then I've already graded your slide presentations. Everyone did excellent with those. Very good job. So I imagine that your video grades will be good as well. Just don't forget to get on and respond to somebody else's video to make sure you get your full credit for the, because that is part of it. It's making your video and responding to someone else to get your full credit for the video presentation. No final exam in the class. The video presentation is your final. So once you finish that, you are completely done and enjoy your little 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever it is that actually it might be 3 weeks. You get kind of a nice break in the at the college level. So you can enjoy the rest of your summer, however long it is, before we come back for the fall. So what I'm going to do in this video is go through the review for exam 3. And I'll talk just a little bit about the slides for the security slides. I might kind of just go through them very briefly and highlight the kinds of things that you might expect to see on your test. So one thing here, this topic list is in week 5 in D2L. I guess your little kind of my gift to you for being responsible and watching the review video is I will go ahead and tell you that there's not really any computer history on exam 3. So maybe your time would be better spent studying some of the other things. So good job watching the video, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you get a little hint there. You definitely do need to know this information over big data. Big data had those slides in them. I think they were like blue and green. There might have been, I want to say 25 of them. You definitely want to know the 4 V's. You'll want to know what these are, and you'll want to like know definitions for them. You'll want to be able to identify, if I give you a description, like what kind it is. You'll want to be able to name them yourself. Definitely study those 4 V's for big data. And this is just a pretty kind of broad overview question. How is big data used? There were a couple of examples of that in the slides. So for sure, go through and read your big data slides and focus on these 2 aspects right here. The cultures and technology article was that 13-page article that you read. And I would say you should really focus on these last 2 here. You definitely want to know kind of what a digital native is and what the author considers to be a questionable characteristic. So if it says that you should be able to defend your position, that would mean do you agree with what the author said? Yes or no. And if you do agree, be able to support why. And if you don't, then be able to support that as well. Quite a bit of the questions on the test are going to come from the cybersecurity slides, which is why I want to go through them here at the end of this video. That is the topic for today. So there has not been a quiz over cybersecurity. It's just kind of the questions are part of the exam, and it's a pretty big part of the exam because you haven't seen any questions over it yet. So this vocab right here, you'll definitely want to be able to identify like what these three vocab terms are and what they mean. And then I could ask you to identify any part of the CIA triad. So like confidentiality, integrity, and I think availability is the A. There are not any questions over Rise of the Hackers. That was the video that was, I had like a YouTube link to it and the link was not working. That video had been taken down due to copyright. So there are not any questions over Rise of the Hackers on exam 3. I went through all of the questions and I believe that there's not anything in there. There's a little bit of an overlap between Rise of the Hackers topics and cybersecurity topics. So if you're taking the test and you see a question that you kind of feel like was not covered at all, or you had not seen it at all, and it's possible that maybe that was a question from Rise of the Hackers, if you would please just email me about that whenever you finish taking your test. What I will do is if there is a question that I missed, a question that I should have taken out of the exam and I did not, because maybe I thought it was like a question from the cybersecurity slides, then what I will do is I'll go back and make that question a bonus question. So for sure, I will not hold it against anybody. If there's a question over Rise of the Hackers that I missed, that would be my mistake, not yours. And that's it. It's a pretty short topic list. The exam, I think, let's see, there were, I want to say 5 or 6 free response questions, and then maybe like 10 multiple choice questions. It's a pretty short test. Okay. So I'm going to go through, so I'm here in week 5, where we sort of talk about security. And you could just kind of go through those notes if you wanted, like if that would make you feel a little bit better. But for sure, there are no questions about these people or these events. There are no questions about like different kinds of key encryption. There are no questions about quantum computing. No, I really think that I have removed anything on exam 3. But like I said before, if I missed something, please email me. I'd be happy to throw that question out or just make it a bonus for people that maybe got it correct. Okay, so we'll go through the cybersecurity slides and then that will be it. That will be the end for our lecture videos for CMPS 1023. You just about got this class whipped, right? So just kind of a brief overview. The big thing is that CIA Trinidad, and the idea there is that there are different types of attacks that could be done. And so there are different like categories of things that you can do to try and like stay safe and protect yourself. And so they call that like the CIA Trinidad, and it doesn't mean CIA like what we normally think of. It's CIA is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And you'll want to know those 3 terms, and you will want to know their definitions for the exam. So here's just kind of, they're related to each other, they overlap, but they do kind of cover, I shouldn't say they overlap in that what they mean overlaps, more that you need all 3 to have good security coverage. That's probably a better way to word that. Okay, so confidentiality is all about ensuring that the person viewing the data is the person that is supposed to be viewing the data, right? And you can kind of think about that like confidential data should only be seen by people that have the proper like authorization to view that confidential data. So the definition here in the slides, we have, you have authorized restrictions on information access, including protecting personal privacy and proprietary information. Proprietary information is going to be where like a company has some sort of copyright to information or data. So proprietary would be like that Disney owns the rights to a movie that they produced or something like that. So you could think of confidentiality as in, are the only people viewing this confidential information the people that are supposed to be allowed to view the information? That would be confidentiality. Integrity is all about not allowing the data to be modified. So guarding against improper modification or destruction, including ensuring non-reputation and authenticity. So there are a couple of ways that you might have to do that. So do users have the ability to delete files in a shared system that they should not be allowed to delete, right? Maybe this person is allowed to view a document. Maybe they are allowed to open a file and look at it. They have authorization for that, but they do not have edit authorization. This person might be, you know, like confidentiality is like, can you see it? Can you view it? Can you read it? Integrity is like, do you have permission to make changes to this data? So you might have like read privileges for a file, but you may not have edit privileges for a file. And that can include not being able to like duplicate information, not being allowed to make copies of it, because then you could, in theory, share it with other people that are not supposed to have access to that data. And so just being able to ensure that the data is still like intact and it has not been changed in any way, it has not been modified in any way, and that the only people that are allowed to make changes to the document are the ones that are supposed to be allowed to make changes to the document. Availability is that your information is accessible whenever it is supposed to be accessible. So it says the definition here is ensuring timely and reliable access to and use of information. An availability attack would be like a DOS attack or like a DDoS attack. So like denial of service attack. And that's going to be where you have some sort of like server where you're supposed to have information available that lots of users can get on and access it. But if a hacker is trying to shut that server down and make it where it's not accessible by any user, they could, for example, send multiple, and I'm talking a very large number, like hundreds of thousands of requests, and try to like overwhelm the server. So then the server has so many requests from these bots and illegitimate requests that it gets like shut down and it cannot respond and send the data to the actual authorized users. So that would be available. So if your data is secure, if you have good security, you should make sure that the only people that are accessing the data are the ones that have proper authorization to see it, that the data is intact and that it has not been changed or modified by anyone that was not allowed to change or modify it, and that it is up and available so that authorized users do have the ability to connect and see and use that information whenever they need to. So that's the CIA Trinidad. You also definitely want to know these terminology for sure. I would say, and you know what, I'm going to make a news announcement about this, but I'm going to say that you are going to be allowed to use a one-page reference sheet for this exam. And if you get like some warnings from Lockdown Browser about looking off to your paper or something like that, you can just ignore that warning, like it doesn't matter. I am telling you that you're allowed to use a one-page reference, that's fine. And I would definitely recommend putting some of your vocab in there because there are a lot of vocab questions on the test. So you for sure want to know this terminology right here. And I'm not going to go through and read it out loud to you because you're capable of reading it yourself and I don't really have any personal input for it. But if there is a term that you read and you're kind of like, I don't really know what that means, please email me. I would be happy to try and maybe just explain it in a different way that isn't quite like, you know, the definition can sometimes be a little bit hard to understand. I can try to explain it in a little easier way. Know these challenges for sure. Like you should be able to maybe name one or two of these challenges. And whenever it says something about like what a challenge from like what a computer security challenge from the slides is, this is literally what it's talking about. These are the challenges that were discussed in the slides. Okay. And these are challenges for computers, for computer security from the viewpoint of you trying to keep your data safe. Like what makes it a challenge to ensure that you have good computer security? Okay. And then this is just saying that they're like cybersecurity is a really good field. They have lots of openings. It can be very well paid. That's like, it's just a great need worldwide. And then, yeah, it's just more talking about how if it's hard to find people that are good at it, but if this is something that interests you and you want to go into security and that's, you know, your field and you study it and become good at it, then there are lots of opportunities out there to make a very good career out of cybersecurity. It's a very important field as well as being a very good field. Okay. So this problem here, they're kind of talking about like why some, you know, young up and coming people that go into computer science might be more interested in working for some of the flashier companies as opposed to like working for the government, which is a very stable job, but maybe doesn't pay as well and maybe is a little bit more traditional, maybe a little bit more like reserved, old school than some other fields. So that's one problem that companies have with recruiting good computer security people as well. Okay, so what do? They increase pay. They try to like make a lot of training camps so that people can go into it without even necessarily requiring a degree. They have a lot of computers, like cybersecurity education that is just focused on cybersecurity, and that's all they do. So you don't really get a full-blown degree in computer science if you don't necessarily learn like architecture or, you know, like a lot of the other languages. You just really focus on like this one area, but it's a good area to focus on. We do have a minor in cybersecurity at MSU, Texas. This class does count towards it. So if it's something that you're interested in, you already have one down. You would also have to take CS1 and CS2. And then we do have a cybersecurity course, which is sometimes offered online. So if you're in this online class, because online works better for your schedule, that course is offered online as well, but CS1 and CS2 are not. And then you would have to take some electives to fill in the required hours, and you would take operating systems and topics in security. Operating systems is really important for security as well. when I have had 2 security courses. I took one down in UNT about a year ago. It was the fall of 2021. And I took a cybersecurity class, and everything was done in the terminal. Like everything that we did, you didn't even have an IDE. Everything was just like you had the command prompt, you would program directly in there, you would change your permissions directly in there. Like you really needed to know your way around a Linux operating system very well for that. And then of course, there are a lot of online courses, and you can kind of do like self-teach because you control your future. If it's something that you're interested in, you could study it and kind of learn yourself and be very successful, you know, if cybersecurity is what you're interested in, because there's a lot there. So I will make a news announcement. You are allowed a 1-page reference sheet for exam 3. Make sure you know like that for digital natives, some characteristics, who is one, what is one. Make sure that you know those V's for big data. That's really important, and what those stand for. And then definitely know that CIA triad and the vocab from that slide, those terms that I showed you there at the kind of in the middle of the slides, I think it was. And I think that's it. Note from that article, from the culture article, be sure that you can like choose a side and defend it. If you have any other questions, please email me. I will have a Zoom meeting tomorrow, which I'm recording a day early. So I will have a Zoom meeting on the day of the exam. I can be available anytime that's convenient for you guys, but traditionally I'll do it from 6 to 7 because I did it today from 1 to 2. And then that's the end of the course. So good luck on exam 3. Congratulations, you made it to the end, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer.